I, 32 female, have been with my husband Todd, 33, for 3 years. He has a son tween from his late wife. Todd is pretty close to his sister Monica, 35. Their mom's deceased and Monica has basically taken over. She's nice to me and all, but she seems a bit controlling, especially when it comes to Todd. But that wasn't a real issue until after I got pregnant. After we found the gender of the baby, boy, she insisted on the name Tommy, but I refused because I already had a name in mind. Todd loved it, but he stayed out the fight, saying maybe we should just let Monica call him Tommy. I refused and asked her to please respect me and the fact that I'm the mom, not her, and she said okay. Like always, she's hosting Christmas for the family this year and invited me and Todd to Christmas dinner. I intended to come until I discovered that she hung stockings with her kids' nephews and nieces' names and hung a Tommy stocking saying it was for my son. I was livid. I lost it on her and there was a huge fight. I told her I wouldn't be coming to her Christmas dinner if she didn't remove the stocking or put the real name, and then I left. Todd started yelling at me when we got home, saying that I was attempting to ruin an important family tradition by refusing to come and saying that I was overreacting and couldn't tell his sister what she should or shouldn't do in her own home. She tried to convince me to come, but I said no, not until she removes that stocking, and it doesn't look like she's going to do it because he spoke with her and he's now mad at me for making a huge deal out of it. Her husband Philip, who's usually nice to me, called yesterday saying that he spoke with Todd and he'd be devastated if I cause the family to miss the event at Monica's house and ruin it not only for the adults but for the kids as well, since my stepson loves spending the holidays with his cousins. Todd has been quiet and we only communicate through Philip. I feel ashamed. Maybe I overreacted. Am I the idiot? I didn't ask Monica to put a stocking for my son. She said it was for my son. It was her decision, although I find it weird since my baby hasn't even been born yet. Wait, was there ever a Tommy? Like her dad or a child she lost? Or did she just arbitrarily like that name better and start calling your son that? What kind of entitlement is that? She has no say what you name your child and your husband isn't backing you but her. Tell her that she can only see your son Tommy, and since you don't have a son named Tommy, she's never going to see your child. And if she continues to do that, call her Blanche constantly until she realizes, I decided to give you a different name because it's what I want to call you. Dude, it's a power play. This is your husband's sister's way of telling you that Todd will always take her side. Now that you're having his kid, she wants to ensure you know that she's the one who calls the shots. Please start setting up some kind of birthing plan that does not include your husband because he will let his sister into that delivery room and control everything. I won't be shocked if OP's husband uses Tommy while his sister-in-law is around because it isn't worth the fight. At this point, I'd start making a plan to get out of this family. Unless your husband finds his guts and supports you 100%, I say get out before sister-in-law becomes the grandma from down under. OP, you need to set boundaries before the baby is born because these people are going to steamroll through anything you want. I bet your husband is 100% going to allow his sister to name your son Tommy at the hospital while you're recovering after childbirth. I just don't understand some people. He does realize that he's married to you and that this is your child, not sister's, doesn't he? I have to admit I'm kind of mean, and if Todd attends doctor appointments with you, I would tattle to the doctor about all the stress your husband and his sister are putting on you over labeling your son with a name that isn't his. I suggest you tell your husband you're done socializing with the in-laws until his sister starts therapy for her obsession. If she wants a child with that name, she either needs to have another child or adopt. But you have a huge husband problem. He needs to have your back and tell his sister to back off. Our daughter, Kayla, nearly adult, has been asking for a laptop for a while. Money's been tight, so my wife and I saved up to get it for her for Christmas. I couldn't wait to give it to her. The other day I came home from work and found Kayla upset, my wife in a mood, and our son, Martin, teen, looking pleased. I asked my wife in private what was going on. She started venting to me that Kayla is an ungrateful brat, we should return her gift, etc. She then explained that she and our son decided to pull a small prank on our daughter. Martin told Kayla that my wife had said to him that instead of the laptop, Kayla was getting the amount it had cost in gift cards to various stores, clothing, food, etc., not places you could buy a laptop, because she felt she wasn't ready for one. Kayla got very upset and asked my wife if this was true. My wife said yes and added, maybe next year. Kayla got upset and said this wasn't fair, she'd only asked for one thing. Clearly money wasn't an issue. My wife admits she started laughing, which made Kayla even more upset, and she told my wife she was a jerk. My wife feels how Kayla reacted to the prank showed her true colours, and what if we couldn't afford it? I pointed out that we told Kayla in the past that we couldn't afford it, and she took it well. It seems that the issue was knowing we had the money and could have bought it, but allegedly didn't. I asked her what she expected to come from this little prank and called her childish for roping Martin into it. I said I'm not returning the laptop. My wife is mad at me and says Kayla needs to be punished. I also made my wife tell Kayla that it was all a prank. Kayla apologised for calling my wife a jerk but said the prank was super hurtful. My wife refused to apologise and doubled down that she didn't feel Kayla deserved it. Martin did apologise for his role. Am I the idiot? Edit, my wife is Kayla's biological mother. My wife has always pulled pranks on both kids. Martin finds them funny, Kayla doesn't, which bothers my wife, and then they argue. Then my wife gets mad at me because I defend Kayla. Not the idiot, I'm sorry, but your wife is very mean-spirited. She pulled the prank with the express purpose of upsetting her daughter and then got angry when she got the result she wanted. This is awful behaviour and your wife behaved like a bully. She's being deliberately cruel to a teenager and giggling about it. Exactly. Pulling pranks on someone who doesn't enjoy them is called bullying. If your kid has told her to stop and your wife refuses, your wife has a problem. Man, your family sounds delightful. How wonderful it must be to be married to such a mean-spirited woman and have raised an equally unkind son. I'm sure you beam with pride. Your wife is a mean girl to her daughter. Kayla is old enough to start going no contact with the mother in a few months too. Your wife fully set Kayla up. She didn't play a prank on her. She wanted to upset her. And now your wife is angry because your daughter snapped back at her in her own defense. Opie, you have bigger problems than who is getting what for Christmas this year. Every year, my siblings and I, alongside our families, spend Christmas with our parents. We stay at their house for a few days. Everyone opens gifts together. It's hectic, but a lot of fun. The kids enjoy having one big sleepover with their cousins. My mom likes having everyone home again. We all pitch in. It's a win-win. Last year, my brother married Sally. She has a pre-tween daughter, Mindy. This was their first Christmas with us. It seemed like they were having a fun time. Christmas Eve, all the kids went to the finished basement to sleep. We told the kids not to open up gifts without us and to wake us up when they did. This was repeated several times. Once the kids were asleep, we put all the gifts under the tree and eventually went to bed ourselves. Next morning, around 6 a.m., I wake up early and head downstairs. I find the living room a mess. Half of the gifts were unwrapped. Several of them had been ripped from their boxes and Mindy was playing with some of the toys. Most of the ones weren't even hers. She knows how to read and they were all labelled, so she knew this. I was in shock. I got my brother, Sally, alongside the rest of the adults. Sally was super embarrassed. My mom was very upset. The other kids weren't up yet, so we tried to salvage what we could while Sally talked to Mindy. Not everything could be fixed and she'd broken a couple of toys completely. The broken ones weren't even her own toys. Luckily, not everything was damaged, and even the boxes that were damaged the kids didn't notice. But my nephew, sister's son, had one of his big gifts destroyed and he was sad when everyone else got theirs while he was told he'd have to wait for a new one to come back in. Sally and my brother reimbursed everyone. Mindy didn't get to open gifts with everyone but joined the festivities later. She apologised but kept making excuses. She said she didn't want to wait and she wanted to see what everyone else got. We're all preparing to go to my parents again this year. I put in the group chat that we should lock the doors to the living room this year or put a gate around the tree so no one can get to it. I didn't even name names. I specifically said, no one. Sally and my brother got mad, accusing me of treating Mindy like a baby or an animal. I said I was not, but this was a precaution, so none of the kids were tempted. They said this isn't necessary and I'm holding a mistake over Mindy's head. I said, no, I'm not. I'm trying to make sure we have no repeat. Because I know it'll be asked, Mindy doesn't have autism or ADHD, and even if she did, my daughter has ADHD and both my sister's kids are on the spectrum. They knew better. I don't think Mindy was malicious. She was young, but I do think precautions should be taken. My parents agree with me, and my brother is mad I put it in their heads. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Why would you not do this? It kind of isn't even just about Mindy, although of course it's about Mindy. She ruined Christmas and broke a lot of other people's toys. But you have a bunch of small children who are notoriously bad with impulse control. Why not lock the door or put a gate around the tree? Any child could be tempted by sleeping parents and gorgeously wrapped presents under a lit tree. She's still young. Also, if your kid acts like a baby, they should be treated like one. Come on, Sally, the girl opened half the Christmas presents and you and your husband had to shell out to replace them. Wouldn't you rather lock the room than risk going through that all over again? I don't understand why your bro and sister-in-law are upset. You aren't asking them to lock Mindy in a room or put an ankle bracelet on her. You're not advocating for her to march through the house while you ring a bell and scream shame at her. You're suggesting that the door to the living room gets locked overnight. Nothing needs to be said to the kids because if they stay in bed, they won't even know. It's because they'll be shamed for it. Everyone will know why and who these locks are for. Hasn't your brother ever heard, once bitten, twice shy? It's bad enough to have one Christmas ruined. Taking precautions is far better than having them say it'll never happen again and then having it ruined again. It's just not worth the risk when a simple precaution can eliminate the risk. You may be showing some mistrust, but it's earned mistrust. My wife and I normally give our mothers and sisters, one on each side, a piece of jewellery for Christmas. I'm close to my younger unmarried sister and I enjoy getting her the jewellery. My brother got married this year and my family chipped in to pay for his wife's bridal jewellery. It was an expensive pearl and diamond set. I wasn't planning to get her anything else other than a few small things for Christmas after that. She announced she would like rubies or a red stone for Christmas at Thanksgiving. My mom, mother-in-law, and my wife's sister have never made demands on stone or anything. My wife and I decided my new sister-in-law isn't getting any jewellery after that, even if it's $5 worth. Things went from bad to worse when my brother stopped by to inspect the jewellery because his wife wanted something more colourful than pearls, and she wanted red. Sister-in-law aren't attending my parents' Christmas because of me. My mum said that she was sad, but she couldn't force me to buy my sister-in-law gifts. My sister-in-law now says that all of my side of the family hates her and that's why we don't buy her expensive gifts. My brother says he will never speak to me again if I don't apologise, but at this point I'm considering that to be the best Christmas gift of all. Am I the idiot for not including my sister-in-law in expensive gifts? Edit, my brother got us matching pyjamas last year. Rubies for Christmas? What the heck is she, a Kardashian? You're not the idiot. Your brother thought he could hop on an established Christmas tradition and get out of paying for an expensive gift for his wife. You torpedoed that idea and he needs someone to blame. I get the hint that you may be in a community where families do give expensive jewellery as gifts, since you mentioned the family buying bridal jewellery. However, you gift someone because you want to, because the person will like it, and because you feel good about it. She got an expensive gift and basically said, "It's not good enough, get me something better and more expensive," and then balked when you said no. Showed her colours, apparently red, and you should always believe people when they show you who they really are. You stop this now or you're going to be buying her a Hope diamond every year for the rest of your life. Exactly, if your brother thinks you should buy his wife jewellery, then why has he not bought your wife jewellery? That's his sister-in-law, just like his wife is your sister-in-law. You got matching PJs, not expensive jewellery. It's not exactly reciprocal unless those pyjamas were inexplicably beaded with real gems. I'm petty enough to give your new sister-in-law exactly what your brother gave your wife in the past. Maybe matching ruby-coloured pyjamas. Congrats on getting the best Christmas gift of all, the gift of silence from an entitled brother and sister-in-law. We're all 35 plus. For almost 15 years now, my friend have holiday parties where we each bring a dish. Mine has always been a green bean casserole. It's nothing fancy, just a random recipe I found online. A few years ago, Amy joined our group. There have been zero issues with Amy until parties. My casserole was overhyped, and after tasting it, Amy said she could do better. I gladly passed casserole duty to her. It didn't hit the same, and it was gently suggested to get passed back to me. Amy took this personally. For years, she texted me after parties about how offended she was that I kept making the dish to spite her and how bad it tasted. She's even accidentally brought her green bean casserole several times. This Thanksgiving, Amy snapped over someone complimenting my casserole. She screamed at everyone for pandering to me, how I was out to get her, and for everyone hating her family since her recipe had been passed down for generations. Then she stormed out. We all talked afterward, and I explained this had been going on for years, even showing her texts. Everyone said it was out of character for Amy, and wondered if something else was going on. As far as I'm aware, it's only the casserole. We get along 100% otherwise. I took Amy, her husband and my husband out for coffee to talk and was told it was all a misunderstanding. Amy has been struggling with depression, so it was within her rights to act how she did. I asked how I could help, But Amy said questions like those were what her therapist warned her of me attempting to manipulate her. We agreed to end our talk there since we were getting heated in public and hadn't talked since. When the group chat began planning Christmas dishes, Amy went out of her way to say I should make the casserole since I accused her of hating it and she wouldn't want everyone to feel more uncomfortable than I'm making a misunderstanding out to be. When I tried to speak up, everyone said I shouldn't take things so seriously and to sympathise with Amy going through a rough patch. To me, Amy has made it well aware that something to do with myself or the casserole is causing her so much turmoil over the years. She won't talk to me about it. She claims I never listened to her. I have no plans to make the casserole, but now I don't want to go to the Christmas party. My husband thinks it's unfair for me to do that to everyone and that I shouldn't exclude myself from a fun time. I told him there were no hard feelings about him going on his own, but he said I'm missing the point. He says such a minor thing shouldn't affect years of good moments with Amy and our friends. I fully understand how depression affects people, but it's hard for me to accept it as a get-out-of-jail-free card. I'm very confused and failing to see why this shouldn't be taken seriously. Am I the idiot? Bro, what? Amy's depression doesn't give her the right to do anything, and people asking how they can help isn't a form of manipulation. Her therapist would never say that. Asking how you can help is the most common way to address it when a friend opens up about their depression. Your husband is right on the point about how you shouldn't exclude yourself from a fun time though, but it's not unfair to anyone that you don't join. You're not the idiot. No excuse for Amy. It's actually really concerning and she might need to see more therapists and psychiatrists. This isn't depression. It's called being a cry bully. She picks a fight, you contradict her, and she bursts into tears, calling you names and playing the victim. It's utterly baffling to me. Then half the time she goes out lying about you more to recruit allies in her weird, self-created drama. It turns out people can get away with a lot if they play the victim whenever they're caught being nasty. However, still go. Amy wants you out, doesn't she? She's probably jealous of more than your casserole skills. Maybe bring a new dish that people will enjoy. This is a one-sided war in Amy's head, and when nobody eats her casserole, she'll realise sooner or later that lack of competition still doesn't make her the best.